35 drivers. 6 weeks. If you want to make it to the Supercup, you have to survive this gauntlet. This is the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to round number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. We are live here from Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. My name is Connery Maddock, and I'm joined by the ever wonderful Joshua Lee for tonight's proceedings. And well, we are very much all set for the action here for round number 2 of the championship. We're still in the very, very early stages of this one, Joshua. So many things to talk about, but so many unknowns as well.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, early stages of this championship, but mistakes need to be down to a minimum. If you made mistakes at Hockenheimring, you got to clean those up coming into Barcelona, because it's round number 2, but of 6. There are not a lot of races left after this one. We're already creeping into the halfway portion of the calendar. You got to be perfect from here on out if you made any sort of mistakes last week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about a couple of those perhaps just a little bit later on. But here's a little bit of a recap of the format of basically the entire structure of Porsche Esports here on iRacing. Of course, we are in the middle section right there from September 25th to October 30th with the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. But the participants in this series, well, they've been around for quite a while. They are the bottom 20 finishes of last year's Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup, and the top 15 finishes from this year's Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup qualifying series. So it's a 3-stage sort of qualifying process to be able to get yourself into the very top level of Porsche Esports here on iRacing. Of course, the top 15 from this particular series, they will get themselves a slot in that all-important Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup for 2022. It seems a long way off, Josh, but for these guys, you know, after this, it's straight into preparation for that top series if they're one of the lucky 15.
Definitely, and that 2 months of practice and off season is going to be huge, because it's really going to determine what teams are coming into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup in 2022 with that fire. We've seen a lot of drivers go from the qualifiers to the Contender Series to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup in the past and really dominate with a good off season. Here's where we are: Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, known for Formula 1 action, known for World Rallycross as well. You can take a look, a good bit of elevation as well going down into turn number 1. They go up the hill and through the middle sectors. 16 turns around this course. Not a lot of changes since it first opened, Connery, except for a little bit of a change down by that action zone. You can see going a little bit wider in the Grand Prix circuit, but we're running the classic circuit here. A tight bend there, hard braking zone. Certainly going to see action there, as well as turn number 1, the 2 main action zones that we'll see here tonight.
Yeah, of course. One of the primary changes of it, of course, with the chicane at the very end of the lap as well, which has been pretty controversial with regards to this track circuit's design. But I'm sure we'll get more of that a little bit later on in the race. But we're going to go and transition on over into the qualifying session here. If you're unfamiliar, of course, we do recap this every single time the drivers are out there doing their lone qualifying at the moment. No one can affect anyone else. It's just the drivers versus the track, and they'll get themselves 12 minutes to be able to complete a potential 3 flying laps here today. Here's Mariano Sricha in one of the Williams Esports Porsches out there for the moment. The Italian, 4th in the championship at the moment, picked up a 4th place finish in the first round at Hockenheim. So he's gotten himself off to a decent start here today. It's not, just remember, it's not necessarily the finishing in the top couple positions that's the main thing in this series. You want to at least secure yourself inside the top 15 to be able to book yourself a slot into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup for the coming year.
Yeah, this qualifying is also going to be really important, because we saw at Hockenheimring going into the sprint race, track position was huge. We didn't see a lot of changes when it came to the top 10 in terms of qualifying to the end of the sprint race. Of course, we saw the invert going from sprint to feature change things up, but if you qualify up front, you have a really good chance of staying up front. And I think it's going to be the same here at Barcelona, because we talked about those action zones. Those can be really good areas to pass, but other portions of this racetrack could be a little bit more difficult, or it could be a little bit too risky unless you're willing to be super aggressive, make a move that could lead to contact. It might be a little bit difficult to make that move, as we see the number 40 machine getting primed up, ready for a flying lap here.
Yeah, so that is, of course, number 40 of Julian Sonin getting himself onto his quick lap here for the moment. 10 minutes to go, still plenty of time for him to be able to get those laps in. But of course, you know, if you mess things up on these first couple of flying laps, you're putting unneeded pressure on yourself for that third and final flying lap. So we're riding on board here with Julian Sonin in the number 40 car. But remember, of course, you can log on to iRacing, get yourself signed up, and one day you might potentially be able to compete in this series as well. For more information on the schedule, standings, and how to become a driver in this series, then of course log on to iRacing.com/Supercup today. Of course, we won't see you for this year, but maybe in the coming years.
Definitely get on, because like you mentioned, Connery, anybody can get to this ladder of Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup and try and become a professional. Get that A-Class road license, get into the qualifier series. You do good there, you end up in the Contender series. You do good there, you end up racing in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. That is how the ladder works, and anybody can go into that ladder and try and become the next big sim racing sensation in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup.
Yeah, join the likes of Sebastian Job, Joshua Rogers, Mac Bernicus, so many other names in that very tip-top of road iRacing. And, well, sometimes we do see some shuffles up there sometimes with different names coming in and out. But that's a topic for another time, perhaps, as we watch the number 50 car, the Apex Racing team machine of Peter Berryman, who not only is trying to qualify right now into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, but of course he has other commitments in competing in another top series here on iRacing in the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Championship. So that's quite a lot of responsibility, quite a lot of things to focus on for Peter Berryman. I'm amazed that these drivers can focus on more than one top series at the same time.
And Peter Berryman's really one of those drivers that is good at paying attention to multiple series. We're noticing some good speed here in the Hockenheim Ring, here in Barcelona as well, and coming off the heels of some great finishes in the first handful of rounds of the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely a multi-talented driver, as many of these drivers will be. But for the moment, we're still waiting for the current initial times to come through for qualifying. I'm seeing Julian Sonin, fastest of everyone so far in this one. We're having a little bit of trouble with our graphics, so we'll be able to put that up in a couple of moments' time. But we're watching the number 93 at the moment. That is Griffin Gardner heading his way through at the moment. Has not set himself a qualifying time just yet here in this one, as we run in towards the middle part of the session for the moment. There's number 83, VRS Coanda, the number 83. Yeah, that is absolutely it. As that's Bobby Zelensky from the VRS Coanda Sim Sports team here. Of course, a very potent, very strong team in the top series. So they're looking to add a couple more people to their ranks when it comes to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Let's see how Zelensky does here. But for the moment, a little bit down the order since he hasn't set a time yet.
I'm talking about drivers competing in different facets of the iRacing World Championships. Of course, Bobby Zelensky is in the Final Four for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs, and he's going to be racing in virtual Texas on October 12th, that Tuesday night, focusing on the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series here today as well. One of the drivers that really is good in any car you throw him in. He has shown that he is a pro in Rallycross as well, and getting a time down on the board, it looks like, for Zelensky, a 1:45.717 up to P12. But Gianni Vecchio, points leader of the Contender Series right now, up to the top of the board by more than 3/10, Connery.
That's a mega lap there from Gianni. Some more fast laps coming through as well from Matti Sippola. who's second place at the moment. Cooper Webster in third. As we'll see yet more of those lap times come through. The entirety of what we can see for the moment covered by 1 second. So that's 24 drivers, if not more. Yeah, it's getting towards 25 drivers that are all just covered within the single seconds here, and maybe things will get even a little bit closer as this session draws to a close. These cars do tend to get a little bit faster as the laps goes on and the temperatures and pressures come up to the right operating window. Alexei Nesov, the Russian, heading his way through in the number 33 there for the moment, and a little bit further down the order here for the moment, but still there's another chance for Nesov to get himself a time set and to promote him a little bit further up that timing streak.
Let's see what the Russian can do here. Russian Cup winner in karting in 2016. Let's see what he can do on this lap. Now he's coming up to one of the more famous corners. Obviously, everybody knows it with Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton making contact here just a couple of years ago in 2016. But going through this portion of the racetrack, another hard braking zone here into the left-hander. Watch the throttle. Make sure you don't get on it too hard and spin those tires, taking up as much of the track limits as Nesov possibly can, and then making another run down into another left-hander, quickly over to the right. Gotta make sure that you are set and the car is good for that corner. Right-hander here, setting up for one of the longer straightaways on this racetrack, a DRS zone for Formula One, going down into the hard braking zone of turn 10. This is a great opportunity to make passes, and here in qualifying, Alexei Nesov just trying to get a good exit out of it. Exactly what he's going to do. More playing with the track limits as they go up the hill through the chicane. Make sure you're not getting any off tracks or any cutting corners. Then into the right-hander of turn 13 now. And then into the final chicane, turn 13 and 14, or sorry, 14 and 15. That'll spit out into turn number 16 and back to the front straightaway. A great lap for Alexei Nesov. Let's see if it'll be enough to get him a little bit further up in the timing tower. 1:45.793. It is not going to be enough to get him up into the top 10. 18th place for Alexei Nesov. It is an improvement on his first lap.
Yeah, I was just about to mention, so that was a great Vodafone onboard there of the lap from the Russian driver of Nesov. Now we have Thibaut Casabon, the Frenchman from R8G Esports, of course, looking to try and get a lap time in at the very end, the very dying moments of this session here for the moment. Because you would have thought, oh, well, you're talking about there's still 3 minutes left to go, but a lot of these drivers are on their final laps, at least that they're allowed to do, to be able to set a time. You can only get 3 flying laps in here. You're not allowed to do as many laps as you can, given the time in the session. So time is very much of the essence right now for Thibaut Casabon as he heads his way through the final corner and sets a 1:45.646, which is not going to be an improvement there for Thibaut Casabon. Bobby Zelensky still out there looking to try and get himself just a little bit further up the starting grid here for the moment. And, well, for the 3 car, maybe down in P16 for the moment, over half a second off of your current provisional pole position sitter. That is Gianni Vecchio with that mega lap time at the very front of the field. He's put 3/10 on pretty much everyone. Everyone else is so close to each other that Vecchio is just standing out head and shoulders above the rest at the moment.
Yeah, everybody else down from there. Oh, the 21 gets off track and into the wall goes Bruno Carnero. But talking about the rest of the field, everybody else within about less than 1/10 of each other, except for that gap between first and second. Vecchio and Sirica about 3/10 as we get another look at the path to the championship in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. We're in the Contender Series now, taking the bottom 20 finishers from the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup and the top 15 finishers from the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup qualifying series, put all of them together into the Contender Series over 6 rounds. We're in round number 2 here at Barcelona. Top 15 in the points at the end of all 6 rounds. We'll move on to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup in 2022. We're in the middle portion of the road, Connery. That means that it is laying it all on the table. You got to make sure that you can make it into that top 15, and it's going to be difficult. There is a great crop of drivers that have come in from the qualifying series, and 20 drivers who were relegated out of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup that are hungry to get back in.
Yeah, so just waiting for the clock to wind down in this session for the moment. Looks like pretty much everyone other than that car out there, Gianni Vecchio, has completed all of their allotted qualifying laps here in this one. So Gianni, I think he's going to maybe try and take it as a personal challenge to try and beat his already pole position setting time here for the moment. So a 1:45.155 was the lap there at the very front, but 30 seconds left to go. Not a lot of time left here in this one. Talking a point situation though, the driver that's sort of on the bubble here after round number 1 is Oscar Biskrud. So he's currently in that 15th place in terms of championship points coming into this one. So if the season ended. Of course, right now, then that means Oscar Biskrud would be the last driver to qualify into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. But yep, Gianni Vecchio is not going to make it here before that time expires. You can't complete your lap here in lone qualifying once the timer expires, so he will have to draw that car to a stop and take the tow back to pit lane. So we do now have, of course, an official starting grid for race number 1 here today in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. The sprint race start looks like this. It's Gianni Vecchio, pole position, and by quite a margin as well over Moreno Sorica. Matti Sipler and Cooper Webster bring things down to P4 on the starting grid. Dino Lombardi and Julian Sonin will be the drivers starting on row number 3. Sonin setting a good pace early on here in qualifying. Alessandro Biko on the inside of row 4, Josh Thompson on the outside. Alexander Wolters, Quentin Villalotti, Vlad Klimachev, and Peter Berryman will bring things down to P12 on the starting grid here today. Thibaut Casabon P13 and Jordan Caruso in 14. Sankitet on the inside of row 8, Bobby Zelensky, Oscar Biskrud, and David Williams down to P number 18 here today. A lot of work to do for Williams from that position. On row number 10 is Alexei Nesov with Brian Lockwood, Kamil Grabowski, and Carlos Fenolosa bring things back to P22. P23 goes to Jack Sedgwick with P24 going to Griffin Gardner to start this sprint race. Nicholas Laubish, Elvis Rankin, Joshua Anton, Laurent Benso, Kane Halliburton, and Bruno Canario bring things down to row number 15. That's the second to last row. And the final row of the starting grid, we've got the drivers of Goddestad and Christiansen starting P31 and P32 respectively. So, drivers slowly but steadily getting themselves onto the starting grid here at Barcelona. It's quite a run down in towards turn number 1. So that initial start is quite crucial here for you to be able to gain those early positions. And that's even more important when you remember that the track position is so crucial here. Very difficult to overtake at the best of times. So you really want to try and capitalize on that initial start to be able to gain those positions down in towards turn number 1. So there's the view from the rear of the front couple of rows here. We'll get 9 laps of racing here in the sprint race before we get into that 18-lap feature. So we're all ready and set here in Barcelona, it seems, ready to go racing in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series for the second event. Those engine notes will rise. And we're racing here in Barcelona. It's a poor start from Cooper Webster from a couple of rows back. He'll get swallowed up by the rest of the field. It's side by side for P1 though, coming down in towards turn number 1. Moreno Sorica in a good start. He's on the inside from P2, maybe up into P1 here through the first corner. They're still fighting wheel to wheel. Everyone's still fighting wheel to wheel back through the pack. By the way, Vecchio has been able to hold on to P1, but it's a huge cacophony of Porsches behind, and that's the number 22 off. That's Jordan Caruso having a horrible time. Started 14th. He gets cycled towards the back, Joshua.
Not a good start for Logitech G Altus Esports. Remember his teammate Cooper Webster down from 4th to 13th. Still some side-by-side with Biko and Sonin. They get it settled out. Here's the battle for the lead. Vecchio and Sorica. Sorica had him side-by-side going through turn number 1. Could not do it and get the pass made. The 25, that's Vlad Klimachev. That goes off track. He gets backed into the tire barrier. But top 3 starting to show themselves out at the front as Sipola joins this battle for the lead. Unchanged since when they drop the green flag as everybody gets stuck in through the middle sector.
Sorica gave it a good effort, though, into the first sector for the first time. Had an extended side-by-side battle with your current race leader and, of course, pole position sitter. But unfortunately, that pass did not materialize for the driver of the number 69 Williams Esports machine. And now we have Matti Sipler on the back of this 3-car train for the race leader at the moment. Of course, Sipler along with a few of the other Finnish drivers, actually. We're competing in their national sim racing championships today, and they're still at the venue having to race with perhaps a sim rig that is not their own. So it's a great job for Zippler to put that up into P3 despite the change of equipment.
Definitely, and trying to move a little bit further up the order as well and just see exactly how that sim rig is going to work for him. We have no idea how much practice he could put into that sim rig or how much practice he put in this week. If he doesn't have a lot of practice in that sim rig, could come into play over the long run of the feature race or of the sprint race as well. 9 laps definitely is more of a sprint than the feature, but still can be seen as a bit of a medium run. 9 laps here at Barcelona, definitely nothing to laugh about, as it will take a good bit of tenacity to make it through this run. And right now, the top 3 is pulling away. Bit of pressure from Josh Thompson onto Dino Lombardi, but right now, top 3 are showing themselves as the strongest, as Vecchio, Sirica, and Sipola still continue to pull away at the front of this field, and rather interesting to see. They're going to get in their own draft line at the front.
They've gotten a little bit of a gap back to Lombardi there, haven't they? A little bit of separation. We'll have to see if this continues as a trend throughout the rest of this sprint race, but that's going to be so important for those front 3 runners coming towards the end of this one, because it'll give them a little bit more room to fight amongst themselves without any of those other cars deeper in the pack trying to capitalize on them going a little bit slower. But let's have a look at the replay here, because we had a little bit of a concerning situation behind. This is the Vodafone Replay involving a couple of the RAG Esports cars, actually, and it's just a whole bunch of cars trying to jostle for position. And there's the 25 going for a spin, the 92 Urano car. Oh! He just nails his teammate. Oh, that's the worst one. If you could pick any other car to try and torpedo there, your own teammate probably is not your first choice. And that was Nicholas Laubish there, going in at a bit of a rate of knots and completely clearing out his teammate.
And his teammate Alexei Nesov, that was involved in that one as well. They're all in the pit lane. Caruso, Bixrud, Laubish, Nesov, and Halliburton all involved in incidents on lap number 1. They're in the pit lane. Tail end of the field now is P27 with David Williams. Cooper Webster fastest lap, as we see change in position with Jack Sedgwick getting by Gotterstad and Benso. Benso now getting by Roger Christiansen there in P21. And an issue for Benso. He's going to get bent up in the middle of turn number 2. Has to lock up the brakes and goes back down into P24. The Fox Gaming cars of Gotterstad and Christiansen doing an amazing job getting themselves back up the order. They did not set a time in qualifying, Connery. 31st and 32nd, they started tail end of the field. They're up to 20th and 21st right now.
Yeah, great job from those cars at the very back of the grid. A little bit of contact there between Lockwood and Benso, as Lockwood in the Racecraft Esports Porsche was trying to squeeze his way through, and that's one very smashed up number 99 Porsche there of Laurent Benso. So it's no wonder he couldn't hold on to position there. But we're on lap number 3 of 9 here. We're actually coming towards the final sector here on lap number 3 of 9. So this race has gone by quite, well, fast and furiously, at least in the opening couple of laps here. And, well, we'll get to see who comes out on top of it at the very end. Vecchio extending the gap a little bit at the very front there, almost up towards half a second back to Sirica. But Sirica still within drafting distance, still can keep himself in the fight here. But Vecchio has been so strong here. And, well, in qualifying, he was basically completely unbeatable. And he's looking to stretch his legs in the sprint race as well.
Exactly what he's doing, a 7/10 gap. Sirica needs to make sure that Vecchio doesn't get too far away, because if he gets too far away, he can go ahead and kiss him goodbye. As we take a look inside the rigs of Vecchio and Sirica as they fight at the front of this field. If Vecchio gets too far away, Sirica won't have an opportunity to use that slipstream to try and close the gap. Then he's relying on Vecchio to make a mistake, which, let's be honest, Gianni Vecchio not known to really make a mistake too often in his Team Redline Porsche. We'll see if he makes one here in the sprint race, but right now, still pulling away. A great run at the front for the 70. Expecting Sirica to really start putting the kitchen sink into this, trying to get up closer to Vecchio as we get a good look at the Vodafone onboard with Sam Kutzert.
Yeah, so with the Dutch driver tailing on the back of the Altus car of Carlos Falalusa, the number 28 Porsche ahead of him there. And, well, not able to get close enough to pressure here just yet. And well, it's even if you do get into that position here at Catalunya, it's hard to really make anything of it due to it being so difficult to try and get yourself alongside. But we still had our fair share of battles a little bit deeper in the pack there, as, you know, there's multiple drivers that gain a whole bunch of positions. Like you said, Goddestad, Christiansen, gaining from all the way at the very back of the grid. They're up into P2021 for the moment. And when you consider they started in P31 and 32, that is a huge improvement. So it's good to see those guys having a good day here today. But coming up towards the halfway point of the race in just a couple of moments here, as having a look towards that very front of the chain, that's, well, that's not very the front of the chain, but still in and amongst where this Carlos Fanalosa, Sam Keater, Griffin Gardner battle is. Important to get that run out of the final corner to make sure you're covered off from any slipstream moves in towards turn number 1. But it looks like everyone's pretty comfortable here at the moment.
We'll get a good look at the battle for 4th here. Dino Lombardi trying to use a bit of what he took from Hockenheim Ring to bring it here to Barcelona. Josh Thompson, another one of those drivers who is known around the sim racing circle as being one driver that is quick for Williams Esports. And here's the move. Thompson's going to make it down to the inside. Can he complete the pass? Make sure there's no contact here. Get the power down out of the corner. Try and complete it. Thompson's going to close the door and get it by.
Thompson's got it, and defensive line into the next left-hander might compromise Thompson a little bit coming off, but he's been able to cover that off well. But a well-executed pass there from the Williams Esports driver as well. Oh, we've got someone out into the gravel, one of the RHG Esports cars that's had a bit of a problem. It's not been a great day for RNG Esports, let's just say that. It was an even worse day for Urano with their big collision a little bit earlier on, but a lot of drivers thinking that this sprint race a little bit of a missed opportunity. A handful of retirements already further down through the order. Halliburton, one of the first ones there. So we've had a good group of 4 cars already decide to call it quits here in the sprint race. We'll see them again, though, for the feature race, but they won't be able to benefit from any sort of reverse grid, given that only extends down to the top 8 cars. No full reverse grid here, as entertaining as that would be here in this series. But 5 to go here in the sprint race, not long at all. Well, coming up towards 4 to go at this point, in fact. And there we go. There's the timer ticking down. 4 to go. And still very much all to play for with regards to that reverse grid pole position. Quentin Villalotti in that position for the moment. Let's see a replay, Vodafone replay of the 50.
Yeah, Bobby Zelensky involved in this one, and this was the incident. Thibaut Kausabone got involved in that spin around, and here's Zelensky cutting off the 25. Did not work out there. Zelensky ends up turned around in turn 2. That was contact with Vlad Kimichev in the number 25 machine, P21. The 25 currently runs in. Zelensky down into P27. You mentioned battle for the transfer for the feature race. We have seen that transfer spot can be important from last week at Hockenheim Ring, when passing can be a premium, and at the front of the field, drivers tend to pull away using a bit of clean air. It could be huge to get that transfer spot and that inverse spot into the feature race to qualify at the front.
It really is, and now you can see this battle sort of developing even further for the front of the main pack, I'll call it, because we have that 3-car breakaway at the very front. As soon as Thompson was able to get by, Thompson has immediately been able to gap back to Dino Lombardi. So maybe Lombardi, a little bit of a cork in the bottle here, the car that everyone is stacked up behind. There's the double box of the battle for the race lead at the very... well, it's not the battle for the race lead at the very front. That's the battle for what is going to be 5th place at the moment. And then, of course, you can see that on the bottom there. There's the battle for the race lead at the very front. So fantastic stuff there. There's the 3-car breakaway at the very front. There's the battle for 5th on the bottom. And, well, things can still happen in both of them. If I'm guessing, it's probably going to be the bottom one. But we'll have to see.
Remember, top 8 invert, Alexander Walters and Quentin Villalotti battling for that spot. But in this battle for 5th, Lombardi still commanding at the front of this battle. And they're catching up to Josh Thompson as well now, who sits in P4. You can see them trying to chase him down, as you can see Josh Thompson at the front of this group. Lombardi battling with Alessandro Biko right behind him in the number 77. And here's the battle for the transfer right now. And it is between Quentin Villalotti, Alexander Walters, and you can see Julian Sonin ahead of this battle as well. He is teammates with Villalotti. Make sure they don't make contact. And the 16 machine trying to get a better result for his team. Start at the front of the feature race after all the struggles this team has had so far here in the sprint race.
I think we have to get all of that American dirt oval racing terminology out of your system there, Joshua, because transfer slot not really a thing here. It's the reverse grid pole position, but I'm sure as the races will go on, you'll be able to get that into your head, Josh. But 3 laps to go here, going towards the end of 3 laps to go, in fact, as that reverse grid pole position fight continuing to develop here. Quentin Villalotti still in the best seat in the house with regards to that for the moment. And, well, he's got a rather eager RHG Esports car of Alexander Walters behind that wants to try and squeeze through one way or the other, because a move like that would pay dividends in being able to start at the very front for the main race. And, well, knowing that it's so hard to overtake here.
We're seeing that here in the sprint race, how difficult it is to overtake. You got to get really close, and then when you get close, you got to make that move on a straightaway. If you try and make it going into a braking zone, you're only going to lead to contact. So you need to make it down a straightaway, have the opening to the inside before you even commit to the corner to make that pass made, to avoid making contact and to avoid having any loss of the position when it comes to the battle. You want to have that spot going into the corner so then you can power around through the apexes. We go triple. Battle for the lead, battle for the transfer, battle for 14th. Battles all over the racetrack right now. Let's see if any of them change. There's a swap for positions for 17th. See if we have any swaps in any of the battles that we're taking a look at.
It seems like the production crew are taking your side with regards to the terminology there, Joshua. I feel completely offended by that, but absolutely. So there's the view of all the battles that are going on right now towards the very front half of the field. Vecchio leading the front pack around for the moment. He's been very, very, very comfortable up there, perhaps just managing the gap back to Sricha at the moment. It's been fluctuating in and out from about 5 to 7 tenths of a second for the moment. So I get the feeling Vecchio is going to be very comfortable getting towards the end of this race, unless there's something able to be pulled out the bag from both Sricha and Sipula behind him. But a little bit of a change there in the battle for 14th. A little bit of a shuffle going on back there. Didn't quite see who that was, but it seems like things are starting to happen already in the late stages of this race.
That was a 14 car involved in that one. Sam Kutzert in the middle of a pretty big line there in the battle for 14th. Joshua Anderson in front of him. Camille Grabowski behind him with Elvis Rankin as well. He got pushed off the racetrack, and that becomes very difficult as well as we go into the final lap here of the sprint race, Connery. When you're in these long draft trains right up on the back bumper of somebody, you got to make sure you're on the same page when it comes to the braking zone, because any light taps in these Porsches are going to be sending somebody off track. So we see a swap for positions between Biko and Lombardi. They're side by side.
Here we go then. Lombardi and Biko, like you said, and also Julian Sonin looking to try and get itself involved. These are battles just ahead of the transfer, in fact. So the transfer driver is just a little bit behind these guys in Quentin Villalotti. So he's hoping that all this scrapping ahead of him doesn't give the driver in ninth an opportunity to try and get past him, because he's slowed up by all this fighting at the very front of his particular train. So we are, of course, on the final lap here. Vecchio continuing to stretch his legs at the very front of the field, gapping the 2 cars behind. If there's a fight in the leading group, I would have thought it would be between Sricha and Sipla and not for the race lead. So that's the situation up there. The Villalotti still in the transfer, well, you got me saying it now, Josh. Still in the reverse grid pole position for the moment. But as we come towards the very end of the final lap here, Gianni Vecchio has had a fantastic sprint race here today. He's going to round himself in towards that final sector. Sricha and Sipla are indeed very close to each other behind, but I think they might be more focused on just trying to get to the checkered flag at this point, and they are. They're all single file in towards that final chicane. Out of the final chicane they come, and Vecchio, for the second time in this season, gets a sprint race win. This time it's at Barcelona, Catalunya, and a fist bump and a fist shake there for Vecchio. He knows how good of a job he's done for the reverse grid pole position. Well, just ahead of the reverse grid pole position was the swaps for positions as we get Thompson in fourth there. But it does seem like Quentin Villalotti has gotten himself that reverse grid pole position there, Joshua, at the end of a pretty frantic last lap.
A really frantic last lap, and Walters was so close, trying to make a move down into turn number 9, could not do it. So Quentin Villalotti keeps that inverse pole position in P number 8. Walters and Berryman just very close behind, 9th and 10th. They're going to be starting exactly where they finished, and everybody else down from here starting exactly where they finished in the feature.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of a look further back through the field. Fenlos 11th. There as we'll look towards the very back as David Williams, not the best of days back there. Bobby Zelensky, not either as well. And well, you can see the ultimate worst days so far at the very back with those retirements. Oscar Biskrud and Nesov will be P31 and 32 classified in those positions. But we will get a little bit of a 5-minute break from the racing here. Of course, we don't really have commercial breaks here on the Porsche streams for iRacing, so we will have to continue on. But what a fantastic event there for Gianni Vecchio. Just a clean and very, very simple race win in the sprint race for Vecchio. Exactly what he did at Hockenheim. But Josh, you know, he has to now try and repeat the same performance he had at Hockenheim. We'll try and come back through the field from 8th place in the main race.
Exactly, and we saw a lot of great racing at Hockenheim Ring. Definitely think we're going to see the same here at Barcelona for the feature. Of course, doubling the lap counter, 9-18. Here's another look at just exactly where we are in the world at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Those 2 action zones highlighted in purple, Connery. We definitely saw a lot of action in those 2 zones. As we have Gianni Vecchio standing by with us now. And Gianni, a great run in the sprint race. You couldn't take home any of the top spots at Hockenheim Ring in the sprint and the feature. Getting started here in Barcelona with a win. What does this mean for you and Team Redline?
Quite a lot. I mean, I like Barcelona in this car a lot, so I was pretty sure I get pole and I have a good race, so that was like just like 50% of it. Then obviously hitting the start, which wasn't a success. But yeah, it was good points again. Like I take the 10 for the pole position, the 25 for the sprint race. So let's see. I want to be 1 spot better than last week in the feature today. So let's see what we can do here.
How's the confidence level going into the feature? Of course, they're going to be starting back in P8. Do you think you have the car and have the aggression to get back up through the field and make a run at the win here in the feature? Go 2 for 2 today.
The confidence is pretty high. I think I have the car. It's just, again, like at Hockenheim, like, you know, try to be out of all the trouble, out of the shenanigans, have a clean first 5-6 laps, and then like tire management has to kick in, and then obviously looking for some room, some spaces, some places, and then, I mean, if it's not P1 in the end, I take everything inside the top 5. That is my personal aim for the race in a few seconds.
Thank you for joining us here in the booth, Gianni, and congratulations on your sprint race win. And we look forward to seeing you try and work your way up through the field in the feature.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Gianni Vecchio there, Connery, as he gets ready for an intense feature race that we can expect here as warm-up gets wrapped up here in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Well, there we go. Fantastic to hear from Gianni Vecchio there as, well, you can see in the bottom left, just sort of a summary of what's going on here today. Of course, we are using the now old Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, the 991. Of course, on iRacing, the new 992 variant has been released, so maybe we'll see that in Porsche competition a little bit later on, but unfortunately not for this series. The field size 35 drivers got to qualifying. We've already done sprint race, already done. We're heading in towards the feature race now. 18 laps, double the length of the sprint race. And, well, it's going to be quite a task for Gianni to try and make his way through on this field as a result of the reverse grid. Due to, well, this, well, it isn't as easy to pass here at Catalunya as it was at Hockenheim. So maybe he'll get stuck a little bit and we'll have a different winner of the main race. But there's a recap of the overall structure of Porsche Esports on iRacing. Of course, we are in that middle stage before we head into 2022. The top 15 finishers from this particular series in points will get themselves a slot for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup by iRacing in towards that new year, and potentially even a new car as well. But we'll talk more about that once we get closer to the season, of course. But Josh, we're all set here, just a minute away from setting the grids officially for the main race. Quentin Villalotti, pole position, and what an opportunity it is for the number 81 to do something special from that pole position. It's not often you, get a reverse grid, but at a reverse grid where it's so beneficial.
And just going into the feature, of course, we saw a lot in the sprint race about just drivers trying to work their way up through the field and having a bit of issues passing. Of course, we saw a lot of that back in the middle of the pack and at the back of the field, but not a lot up towards the front. So I think that reverse grid pole position is going to be huge, so they can try and run away with that lead early on. Because we saw Gianni Vecchio in that clean air really start to pull away. I don't know if that's just showing the importance of clean air, if that's just showing how quick Vecchio's car is here in Barcelona.
Well, we saw in qualifying that was all due to clear air, and he was 3/10 ahead of everyone else. So I think it is very much true pace there for Vecchio, but he's put into a bit of a different situation now where he does have those cars ahead of him that he has to try and go passing, and it's so easy to get stuck here at Barcelona. So we'll see how it works out. An important thing to capitalize on if you're one of those beneficiaries of the reverse grid here today. We'll get ourselves confirmation of that grid up on screen for you in just a couple of moments. In fact, we can do it right now. Quentin Villalotti for RHG Esports on the reverse grid pole position, and he has his teammate of Julian Sonin sharing that front row with him as well. So fantastic stuff there from RHG Esports. You have Dino Lombardi in third place with Alessandro Biko starting fourth. Josh Thompson starting fifth, and Matti Sippola starts in sixth place here today. And then, of course, the top two from the sprint race will be the competitors on row number 4. So Sricha and Vecchio starting there. Volta's narrowly missing out on the reverse grid's pole position with Peter Berryman in the outside of that row 5. Carlos Fenalosa and Griffin Gardner. Pretty much everyone else is how they finished the sprint race here, Joshua. And well, you get a little bit more time in the race just to settle yourself down after the initial couple of laps and try and sneak yourselves through on a few positions here and there. Some of the drivers will be very thankful for that, and maybe we'll see a little bit less overt aggression on the first lap here. But then again, we haven't really seen that previously.
I think we might definitely still see a bit of aggression going down into turn number 1, because when everybody's bunched up, it's honestly their best opportunity to make those passes. Look at the drivers back from here. Calzabone, Williams, Zelensky, Halliburton, all caught up in incidents in the sprint race. They're looking to not only just get a better finish for their confidence here in the future, they're looking to make up some points as we continue on in the Contender Series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to get those consistent finishes, of course. We had drivers get themselves point penalties after the first round of competition. That was Bruno Caniero and Nicholas Laubish that got point penalties respectively there. So we also had Brian Lockwood actually get himself a 5-point penalty, and Quentin Villalotti, who starts in the reverse grid pole position as well. So a lot to make up for here, especially for Villalotti at the very front of the field. P7 in the championship so far. Could improve that a whole bunch at the end of the main race here today. We're all set for 18 laps of racing here in the main race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series, round number 2 at Barcelona. The main race is about to get itself underway. We are go here in Catalunya, and we can see the drivers just getting themselves a little bit of wheel spin coming off the line there. There's the look at the very front of the field as Quentin Villalotti leads them down in towards turn number 1. His teammate hasn't had the best of luck off the line either. He's currently trying to fight with Dino Lombardi for second place there through the first couple of apexes. Lombardi's been able to gain a position up into second, fight a little bit deeper on in the pack though. Berryman versus Sippola is what we're watching through that long right-hander. Sippola on the inside has the speed, he has the traction to be able to gain the position there. Berryman will continue to attempt to go around the outside. It's a very optimistic move from Berryman to be able to do that. A couple of drivers are in the exact same position as him as well. They get very close coming off the corner. Berryman coming down the inside now at the next left as there is a swarm of Porsches behind them. My word, multiple instances of side-by-side through here in the mid-pack, looking to try and gain those early positions because they know it might be their only chance to gain positions.
Still side by side, maybe a little bit of contact between the two teammates there as they run now up the hill out of turn number 8. Take a look up in front. Drivers getting caught on these outside lines, losing a bit of spots as they go through these long sweeping corners. Still side by side, one of the Apex cars and one of the Logitech GLTC Sports cars is off. Jordan Caruso, issues in the sprint race, issues in the feature as Gianni Vecchio goes side by side with Berriman. Here's Dino Lombardi trying to get the lead away from Quentin Villalotti. Lombardi with a feature race win in Hockenheim, now running P2 here. He keeps getting gifted great grid spots by the sprint race inverse spot. He's looking to go 2 in a row in features here, Connery.
Yeah, he's certainly looking for that. It's a mega effort from Lombardi here. Of course, he benefited from the reverse grid after finishing 6th in the sprint race, so he did start quite far up there here in the main race in 3rd place on that 2nd row. Got the good start required to try and dispose of Julian Sonin, so he splits up the two teammates there at the very front. Here's the Vodafone replay of what went on at the very back of the field. And oh, who's that? Number 99. Complete disregard from what's going on ahead of him. That's Lawrence Benso causing a little bit of carnage to the left.
Contact with Zelensky and I believe Gotterstad as well. So catching the Fox Gaming and the VRS Coenda Sim Sport drivers out in that one as well. But we go on to lap number 2. Battle for the lead not changing too much. We still have a scrap heap a little bit further back as everybody battles 2 by 2 into turn number 4. Starting to see some single file out at the front of the field. Look at Josh Thompson in the 51 up 1 spot up into P4. That Williams Esports car is looking stout at the front of this field. Didn't have the best of luck when it came to the sprint. Think he wanted to be a little bit further up the field, but P4 here so far in the feature, just trying to keep Sonin reeled in for P3.
Yeah, Sonin, despite losing that initial spot in the start, kept himself, kept himself from losing any more positions here for the moment. It seems like the main amount of pressure. Whoa, what's going on here through the hairpin? That is a huge amount of side-by-side going on through back through the pack. This is for positions around about 15 and back here. Joshua Anderson, Jack Sedgwick, Kimichev, Cooper Webster, Lockwood Gardner, they're all involved in this one. So something must have happened to trigger all of this, Joshua. Didn't quite see what it was, but it's given us some fantastic action. Someone's off there. Kimichev going very wide through the final corner, and he'll hemorrhage a bunch of spots.
Kimichev got a door slam from Jack Sedgwick, sent him off the racetrack. Now just trying to hold on to that position as he loses a bit of time here in the middle of the pack. Side by side, Cooper Webster going to the inside of Sedgwick, and he makes that move before they even commit to the corner. Exactly what I was talking about earlier, Connery. That is how you have to make passes. Going down the straightaways here at Barcelona, you got to be committed to the pass and complete the pass before you make it to the apex of the corner. Either way, you're either going to lose the spot or make contact. Two things none of the drivers want to do in this field.
You certainly can't be timid about it. Let's just say that. You need to show your authority here at this track. You need to kind of, not so much bully other drivers out of the way, but just sort of stamp your authority on the race and making sure that the other drivers know that you don't really take any prisoners. But looking back towards, more towards the front here, we got Sarika and Sippola looking to go very close here. But Sippola currently in P7, started P6, so he has lost a position since the start here to Saricha, but shouldn't worry too much though. He's still keeping himself in contention in this leading pack. He is the car on the tail end of that one, but he's got to be conscious of the fact that behind him, Vecchio, the fastest driver in clear air in qualifying, is looking to try and lock onto the back of this train.
And that's really what we're seeing now. Now it's started to calm down a little bit, everybody getting into single file draft trains. This is the real test of what these drivers have here and what they can do to try and make these moves. We have 2 Vodafone replays that are coming up, and we go to them. Let's see, the first one is with the 31 machine going into the final chicane.
Oh.
And it gets contact and up and over the turtle curbs. For the number 31, it was the 66 that made contact with him. That was Alexei Nassov. Or sorry, excuse me, that was the 31 machine of David Williams. Here's the onboard with the 12 machine. as they go down the front straightaway. This is Kane Halliburton. You can see trying to make a move behind him. The 71 goes to block, and contact with the 92 sends Kane Halliburton off and into the gravel, and a hard backhand into the tire barrier.
That was Nicholas Laubish from Urano Esports there. So the day goes from bad to worse for Urano Esports, and Laubish does have to be very careful because he already got a bit of a wrath from the stewards at the end of Hockenheim, so he might be on for another penalty at the end of this one if he isn't too careful. So yeah, that's one thing to consider, of course. You don't want your season ruined by points penalties or some such. Heading, we're still in the very early stages of the competition so far in this one, so you're going to be carrying it like a weight around your neck for the rest of the season. But roundabout where Dino Lombardi is here at the moment, second place in the race so far. Still has plenty of time to try and think about what he wants to do with that car ahead of him. And of course, the obvious thing is, I want to get past, but that's easier said than done. He's trying to figure out where Villalotti is weak, where he's strong, and base his decision about whether to go to the move and where to go for the move based on his observations. But for Lombardi on this Vodafone onboard at the moment, not quite carrying as much speed through the final corner as Villalotti is able to, but that will all be made up due to the slipstream down in towards turn 1. Not going to be close enough, of course, to be able to make a move from this far back, and I doubt we'll see it actually this early on in the race unless there's some immediate pressure coming on from cars behind, at least from the perspective of Lombardi.
Lombardi, of course, Italian Esports champion for the year of 2020 in the Gran Turismo category, knows a thing or two about sim racing. Remember, 1 week ago, he was the feature race winner at the Hockenheim ring, trying to get the lead away from Quentin Villalotti and go 2 for 2 this season. Connor, we saw the emotion from him post-race, how much that feature race win meant to Dino Lombardi. Just imagine the elation on his face and in that post-race interview if he were to get the win here in the feature race from Barcelona and go 2 in a row. This is going to be huge for the 19 and huge for the Leo Racing team as well.
Yeah, for the Leo Racing team, it's I would say that Dino Lombardi for sure, basically their star driver. I would say for the moment, he's their only entry into this series, and continuing to do very well, not just in this series, but other Porsche-related series as well. The Carrera Cup Deutschland is one that he has previously done pretty well in as well. But we cycle things back and we have a look towards the driver, Brian Lockwood, here for the moment, who, he's displaying the merch that gets sent to the Tag Heuer Esports Supercup drivers from last year. Never not racing, and I'm not saying this is a challenge, but green screen, you guys know what to do.
I think the viewers definitely know what to do about that one, Connery, but we can't see it with this front-looking onboard. Of course, a lot of drivers in front of Lockwood right now. He has 2 drivers right behind him, Calzabone and Bixrud, that he is trying to hold off from P18, and we can take a look through the windshield, battle up front. As to the inside, almost 3 wide into turn number 1. That's Joshua Anderson outside, Elvis Reinken on the inside for Apex Racing Team, and Cooper Webster at the tail end of that battle. They're catching up to Kamil Grabowski as well, as Elvis Reinken now settles into second place in this group. This is the battle for 13th with Anderson, Reinken, Webster, Sedgwick, Gardner, Lockwood. It is about 6 cars all in this one fight for P13 here, Connery, as they race through turn 3.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit congested. Like the M25 during rush hour, I believe is Paul's favorite phrase in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup commentary. Of course, he is working behind the scenes here today, so shout out to Mr. Paul Smith. But for the moment, here in the main race, lap 6 of 18, still things undecided here back in the absolute gladiator arena that is this middle pack for the moment. Elvis Rankin is the Apex Racing Team driver that we were watching, but we do have to go through and see a Vodafone replay here, and this is off that 3-wide moment, I believe, coming down in towards turn number 1 that you mentioned there with Elvis Rankin, and here comes the run from the Altus Esports car behind, going to shoot down the middle, or at least attempting to shoot down the middle. Gap still there by the time the entry to the corner arrives, but you do have to take a few more sensible decisions here, especially early on in the race. If that was the last lap, I would have no doubt that Altus car was heading down the middle.
Did look like Webster backed out of that one, deciding against trying to go 3 wide into turn number 1 at Barcelona. Definitely don't disagree with him, but I do agree with you, Connery. If that was the final lap or close to it, we would have seen him go for that gap there. He's got a slipstream down into turn number 1 as well. He goes to the inside of the 91 of Elvis Ronkin into turn number 1, and Webster's going to take over P14 as the battle for the lead heats up. Lombardi, Villalotti still at the front of this field. No change in position just yet, but Lombardi is staying within striking distance. Looks like he's buying his time here, Connery.
It's a respectable decision for Lombardi. He's feeling not that much pressure from the cars behind, even though, of course, Sonin is Villolotti's teammate in that R8G Esports outfit. Sonin not doing Villalotti too many favors at the moment in terms of trying to distract Lombardi from the race lead. And in fact, there's a tiny little gap that's developing between the front two and the rest of them for the moment, and we'll see how that one develops over the course of the race. But for Lombardi, it'll be a second main race win in a row if he's able to get this pass done and hold it until the end of 18 laps of racing.
We have a Vodafone replay coming up between the 21 of Bruno Caniro and the 33 of Alexei Nesov. Let's see what happened here on the Vodafone replay. Down the straightaway from turn 3, heading into turn 4, and a door slam in between those two cars, and down into 4. Whoa. There's the contact, and 2 cars go around. I'm not sure what that purple car was on the outside. I believe the 79 of Oscar Bixrud, who made the original door slam with the 21. It is the 79 of Bixrud making the original contact to the door of the 21, and then just unfortunately Alexei Nesov getting caught up there in the middle of turn number 4. Take a look at this draft train at the front of the field here, Connor. You can pretty much see every driver on the front straightaway as they all race down into 1.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens here sometimes at Barcelona, Catalunya. The draft is pretty strong out that final corner in towards turn number 1, but no one can really do anything with it. So it just kind of keeps everyone together, but also pretty frustrated due to the fact that they can't get by. So it's a very interesting situation here. That's why we sometimes see a good couple of fireworks here at Barcelona, Catalunya, not just in the sprint race, but of course we had around here in the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup as well. And that had a good couple of bits of contact through the field, shall we say, as drivers were trying desperately to try and get themselves by. But for this leading pack at the moment, no dramas so far. And that's the best sentence that Villalotti would want to hear, because he is at the very front of this one, and Lombardi hasn't given him too many issues just yet, but we are getting in towards soon the halfway point of the race, and well, that second half is going to be so much more difficult than the first.
And this is going to be just a huge challenge as the drivers move through the middle portion of this race. They got to keep the drivers in front of them reeled in. You can look down the interval on our timing screens right now. Pretty much everybody within a second of each other. And as they all race through into the middle portion of this race, Connery, going to be important to keep that driver in front of you reeled in. So when you get the opportunity to make a move for that position late in the race, you can make it and don't have to catch up in time.
So as we get in towards the halfway point, then we will have our wonderful full throttle segment powered by Bose. Let's take a listen in on those Porsche 911 GT3 Cup machines. Well, hello everyone, welcome back. That was the Full Throttle powered by Bose that you were listening to for just a couple of moments. We're back to the racing here with 9 laps to go. My name's Connery Maddock. I'm joined by Joshua Lee covering the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. Nothing really all that much has changed at the very front of the field. Villalotti still leading from Lombardi from Sonin. And you have Thompson and Alessandro Biko rounding out the top 5 of that leading train for the moment. But of course, if you do want to join the kind of racing that we have here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series, then for more information on that, you can log on to iRacing.com today. And remember, there's a 40% off all new memberships as well. So there's no better time to get yourself involved in iRacing. And of course, for more information on this exact series, then you can grab the schedule, standings, and of course the qualifying process of how to be a driver in the series. You can go to iRacing.com/Supercup as well. As we do want to have some fresh names in the series, maybe some drivers that haven't yet made their impact on sim racing, and to see how well they swim with regards to trying to fight with some of the best on the iRacing service, Josh.
Definitely, and anybody can move their way up into this echelon of Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup action. And here's this front group, and interesting to see just how many drivers are in this front group. Top 8 all separated within 3 seconds of each other. Tail end of this line, Gianni Vecchio, the sprint race winner. He has not moved any positions from where he started. Of course, moved up to P7 at one point, then right back down into P8. Sirica Cipolla as well, exactly where they started in this feature. Quentin Villalotti has led from the outset of the feature race, but Lombardi and Sonin traded positions going into turn number 1, and Thompson and Biko traded spots as well on the racetrack, and that is how the top 8 currently sit. They're all in a line right here. There you can see tail end of this line, Vecchio right there trying to catch up. It looks like everybody here has each other reeled in. Question is, how aggressive are they going to get late into this race, Connery? Only 8 laps to go if they want to get further up the field.
Lombardi is starting to turn up the heat with regards to challenging the race lead at the moment. He had a couple of looks here and there through the previous couple of corners. Nothing that was entirely successful or productive though, but still continuing to apply the pressure. And well, for Lombardi, it would be twice in a row a main race winner if he's able to get this done. It would be Villalotti's, of course, first win as well, and well, first win in well, broadcasted iRacing race. Of course, it's not quite a world championship, this one, as it is more akin to a pro series. But let's have a look then at the what's going on elsewhere, because we have that battle for the race lead at the very top of the screen, and then we have the battle for 12th a little bit further back there in their own little train with Webster, Grabowski, Anderson, Sedgwick all involved in that one. So still multiple places to look at here if you want to see some relatively close action here. Of course, the passes haven't quite started to happen in the late race here just yet, but these are the points where we think things might start to develop soon. And well, you can see a little bit deeper in the pack there in terms of that leading train. Biko having to go defensive to Matti Cipolla from behind. Cipolla trying to find a line through that first little S's section, but it's causing a little bit of separation now in that leading pack.
And the points are also important to look at. Remember, Gianni Vecchio came into this race with the points lead by roughly about 14 points over both Lombardi and Berryman, who are tied for second place right now. Remember, each position that they gain on the racetrack is more points. Winner in the feature, 50 points. That is what Dino Lombardi got 1 week ago in the feature race from Hockenheimring. So the difference between first and second, 5 points. Same thing between second and third. Third and fourth, the difference is 3 points. 3 points as well for third down to fourth. There is a lot of points that are up for grabs in the top of this field, but they got to go for them. They cannot sit back and wait for moves to come to them. They got to start getting aggressive. With 6 to go, this is the time to start getting aggressive. Now we're in the later stages of the feature. If they wait around for too long, the driver in front of them could be long gone. A move could be out of reach. They need to make the move if they see fit right now here in the feature. If they can make a move, they need to.
Well, it won't be too long until we find out who wins this race. Coming to the end of 7 laps to go, up to 6 laps to go in a couple of moments' time. About for 12 still raging on here at this point, but Lombardi at the very top of your screen there, giving a very, very good effort here. The front two have been able to gap Sonin and co just a little bit here on the way down the front straight in towards turn number 1, and here comes the move then from Lombardi, a little bit of a show the nose in towards turn number 1, and well, I would have thought most of the drivers here at the very front of the field are more immune to little charades like that, and Villalotti didn't move an inch in reaction to that show of the nose there, so he's pretty confident in where he's running right now as we ride on board with the Vodafone on board with Dino Lombardi, looking to try and find some way to win this race for Leo Racing Team, and well, for the Italian, still some time left to do so.
Definitely still some time left, but he needs to start thinking about it as he gets close. Within about 2/10 is the gap. Just cannot get close enough to where he can make that move work. But talking about the drivers at the front, Quentin Villalotti, who currently holds that lead at the front of this field for R8G Esports. Look at that, Sonin, his teammate, there within 3rd place. A great day for that team as they have 2 drivers within the podium spots right now. Dino Lombardi, unfortunately, sandwiched in between both of them as look at Vecchio make a move on Sirica.
Well, this Vecchio's not wanting to hang around, and well, he's got the position done over Sirica, so Vecchio deciding, well, I'm not going to hang around at the back of this straight anymore after having not gained a single position since the start of this race after winning the sprint race. And well, look at Sirica, he's coming back at him through the final chicane there, just nipping it down the inside. There's contact. Whoa! Sirica gets spat out into the gravel as he's losing a whole bunch of positions now. Vecchio didn't take too kindly to someone trying to come back at him.
That was a harsh move. Here's another one. Lombardi looks to the inside, cannot get there by the corner. A smart move not to try and dive up the inside there. Villalotti was already starting to commit to that corner, so Lombardi will stay in 2nd place. Can he do anything? Coming off of turn 3 into turn 4. This is another one of those action zones that we've been looking at. The next one on the racetrack after this corner of turn 4 is going to be down at turn 10 off of the long DRS straightaway off of turn number 9. Can Lombardi make the move here with 5 to go, or is he going to have to wait and reset when he gets back to the start-finish line and onto the front straightaway next lap?
It's so tough for Lombardi here in this 2nd place. It's fortunate that he doesn't have any pressure from behind. Here's the replay, the Vodafone replay from a bystander behind in the Apex Racing Team car as they all just come together on the exit of the penultimate corner there. It's more of a 2 cars into 1 doesn't go. The car on the outside is always going to get squeezed a little bit on the outside there, but yeah, sometimes the little bits of contact can turn into something more, especially when grass and gravel's involved.
And just it sucks him right into the gravel as well. Once you get onto the grass, very difficult to get it back onto the racing line. It just kind of holds him in, and unfortunate for him. Issues for Matty Sipola. The 17 goes around. Down into P12 now, and it looks like he's around off of turn number 3 here, Connery.
That must have been an extended 3. That must have been an extended side-by-side battle since the hairpin. There it was. So Sipola sending it down the inside. Side-by-side through the next left-hander. Now coming into the long right. And just the slightest of contacts to the rear right of that car. And it's enough to spin these cars around, by the way. It's, rear engines, lots of weight in the back there. If you get that all out of shape, then it's very, very tough to recover.
Sam Kreitzert comes into the pit lane down in P22. Unscheduled stop, of course. They do not need to pit under the feature. Looks like some damage, hard damage to the front end of that number 14. Drive-through penalty, actually. So a penalty for the 14. Could it be due to incident limits? Could be due to an unserved off-track time that he had to give back for cutting the course. Unfortunate for Kreitzert. That's going to put him all the way back to P27 now on the racetrack.
Yeah, you don't really often see it, but I think with the amount of car-to-car contact deeper in the pack. Maybe there was a few too many 4Xs given out there over the course of the event, and we do have confirmation now for Kita that was a instant limit drive-through penalty. So not ideal. You get yourself well, over the course of the race, if you do things wrong, like go off track or have contact with the wall, spin around, have contact with other cars, you gain certain amounts of incident points. That limit has been set to 17 for each of the races here today. If you go to 17 or over, you get yourself a drive-through penalty. But then if you go over 25, you'll get yourself disqualified. So you've got to be really careful, and Kita has to be very careful now in these final 4 laps to be able to get through the rest of the race without hitting that 24 incidents, because otherwise he'd be disqualified.
Yeah, now within nobody as well back in P27. Take a look. Gianni Vecchio up into P number 6. He's starting to move his way further up the field, but I think it's a little bit too late here, Connery. Take a look at the gap between Alessandro, Biko, and Gianni Vecchio now, 5th and 6th. It is a gap of about 1.8 seconds. That is going to be very difficult for Vecchio to make up in these last 3 laps unless we see an incident or a huge mistake from the number 77. Top 4 still pulled away, and Lombardi still sitting in the wings of Villalotti. Can he get that spot away as we take a look at a Vodafone onboard with Josh Thompson, the Williams Esports machine?
Yeah, so this is Josh Thompson in P4 for the moment, and well, he has everything going on ahead of him, so he's in the prime position to be able to pick up the pieces just in case anything goes very wrong at the very front of the field. And well, it can happen. It can and does happen, especially in situations like this where Lombardi has been, at least as far as I'm concerned, the faster car out of the leading pack here, but still stuck behind one other machine. There's a certain level of frustration that comes with that, and of course, you know, these top-level drivers will have ways of learning how to deal with and how to manage that stress over the course of a race. But sometimes it's a bit of a human nature, just you know, have some frustration come over you and go for a move that you might regret. Hopefully we won't see it, but I'm hoping for a good battle between these two in the final couple of laps if we get it.
And with 3 laps to go, they're going to come to 2 to go this time by. Lombardi needs to start thinking about when and where he's going to make this move. We talked about the action zones. Turn 1, turn 10. Really their best opportunities to make passes. He's already coming up on turn number 1. If he doesn't make it here, it's going to be a move made down in turn 10. If he doesn't make it there, it'll be back to turn 1 on the white flag. We're taking a look at the Vodafone onboard with Julian Sonin, currently sitting in P3, a front row seat for the battle between his teammate and Lombardi. Lombardi not close enough in turn number 1. Can't make the move. He's got to start thinking about when and where he's going to make it, Connery, because turn 10 is his next best opportunity. But if he doesn't make it in 10, he's only going to have 2 opportunities left, both on the white flag lap.
Well, on that final lap, there are a few places where you can go for the absolute send, even if you're not within a car length back. Certainly options that are available here to Tony Lombardi, but he needs to execute them perfectly. Otherwise, you know, it might result in an incident or, you know, the stewards getting involved at the end there. Those are options, but he would rather do it in a little bit of a more creative and a little bit of a more good racecrafty fashion. But let's have a look then. 2 to go. Still this 4-car pack at the very front of the field. And, well, for those guys at the very front, they're very aware of those drivers in 3rd and 4th. They're ready and waiting to capitalize on anything just in case these two at the very front do come together. Villalotti, I'm telling you already, Josh, he's driving the wheels off of that thing. Got a huge slap of oversteer coming out of the right-hand kink.
And trying to hold on as well is his teammate Julian Sonin there in 3rd, trying to get a 1-3 finish for R8G Esports, trying to put 2 of their drivers on the podium. And Dino Lombardi, what's at stake for him? How about 2 feature race wins in a row in the first 2 rounds of the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series? He's looking, he's right on the back bumper, Connery, into the final lap of this race. Lombardi is catching quick. Can he make the move down into turn number 1?
Last lap here for the main race at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. You feel the need, if you're Villalotti, to go all the way to that inside just to break the draft, cover off the move. A little bit too much weaving, if you ask me. Lombardi, though, sitting behind, won't be a threat here, coming through the first couple of corners. But you can see, just by the body language of that number 81 R8G Esports car, that's a lot of stress going on right now for Villalotti. Just looking in his wing mirrors, looking in his rear view, just thinking, okay, where's Dino going to be making this move? Where's he going to go for a lunge, if he is going for one at the end of this race? Of course, for Dino Lombardi, second place, more than enough points to be able to keep himself within that top 15 drivers in the point standings, just the important point at the end of the season. But for every single race driver, they want to go and win. It doesn't matter what the point situation is in the future. They want to get onto the top step of the podium, and that's probably the thing that's occupying Dino Lombardi's mind for the moment. Coming in towards the second half of the lap, then through that right-hand kink, and well, Lombardi hasn't quite been able to gain the momentum through there, so his chances of getting up into the race lead now are pretty slim, and he's got Sonin to be concerned about behind. Sonin goes late onto the brakes, into the hairpin, and into the final sector they go. Villalotti has done so well over the course of this main race. He got himself the reverse grip pole position. He almost has the main race win in his hands as Lombardi's trying to drive the wheels off that racing team car to challenge in towards the final chicane, but he won't be able to get it done, I don't think. And for Quentin Villalotti, for RHG Esports, it's their first main race win of the season. Villalotti wins here at Catalunya.
You could see the emotion on his face, side by side into the final chicane. Door slam between the 92 and the 91. Elvis Rocket on the inside, Nicholas Labiche on the outside. They touch again coming through the final corner and coming to the line. Rocket's gonna hold on to P19, and holding on to P20 is Nicholas Labiche, and contact coming through the final chicane and the final corner there, Connery.
Yeah, bits of drama. It's a little bit further back, but the RHG Esports teammates can celebrate here. It was a fantastic run for Sonin as well, who picks up a podium. Lombardi, he'll be gutted that he misses out on his second main race win of the season, but he'll take the points all day long. Drivers coming through, congratulating the team that finished P1, P3 here today, and Villalotti is just soaking it all in as well. Fantastic race, and that's very hard to do that when you get yourself a reverse grip pole position to hold on throughout the entirety of the race there, Joshua. It is no mean feat.
Definitely not. And we go back to a replay, 37 and 61, the Vodafone Replay here. And they go into the chicane, coming out to the final corner. Looks like maybe ran out of real estate. Exactly what happened. And contact to the doors, and Webster gets spun off and over into the barrier on the final lap. He ends up finishing P29 here, Connery.
Here's a recap of the unofficial results from the main race. Quentin Villalotti, first win of the season, let alone sprint race or main race. First win of the season for RHG Esports. Then you have Dino Lombardi there, narrowly missing out by 0.3 of a second, but second place still puts him in a good spot as far as the championship lead is concerned. Julian Sonin in third place with Josh Thompson in fourth, Alessandro Biko in fifth. Gianni Vecchio there did come across the line in sixth place with Peter Berryman in seventh, Carlos Fanosa in eighth, Alessandro Voltas and Mariano Sricha round out the top 10. But of course, we do have points penalties and such to be considering after this if they do come through. But Kamil Grabowski in P11, Jack Sedgwick in P12, Anderson 13th, Sippler 14th, Gardner 15th, and so you can see the rest of the runners down to P20 there. Brian Lockwood on the in the 20th spot there, and well, almost 20 seconds behind the race leader. That's going to satisfy me all day long. But again, another a race that's probably better than we could have hoped for here, Joshua, especially considering it is Barcelona Catalunya. There have been a couple of poor races before in the past, real life and sim racing notwithstanding, but again, to have that sort of tension at the very end there, we didn't know whether Dino Lombardi would have an opportunity and getting his way by. He didn't have that opportunity into T1, he didn't have it into T4, he didn't have it into the hairpin, and that's what allowed Villalotti to be able to come across the line and win this race, in addition to his mega defensive effort and consistency at the front.
And almost a perfect run for the 81 of Quentin Villalotti, and he got into the feature race on the pole because of the inverse grid and finished P8 in the sprint, went to the top of the standings in the feature. Bo's post-race show begins, and we get to talk with your feature race winner, Quentin Villalotti. And Quentin, what a run that was for you. We could see the emotion on your face coming across the start-finish line. Let's go back to the sprint race first. Did you have some challenges in that sprint race? Because you did end up finishing P8, but luckily, being that inverse grid spot, you were on the pole for the feature.
Yeah, that was amazing. In the sprint race, I started I think P10, and yeah, I tried to stay in P8 because I knew that I needed to keep this position to get the pole position in the second race, and I did it. So I was really happy, but the art was not due. So yeah, and in the second race I started P1, and I tried to stay on the track and don't spin because the guy was really dangerous with this condition and those tires. So yeah, I'm happy to finish in P1. I was a bit scared by Dino in my way because I know that he was able to overtake me with the draft and the main threat. And congrats to my teammate Julian and Dino for this race.
A double podium for RAG Esports as well. Your teammate Julian Sonin finishes in P3. What does this mean for the team as a whole, getting both of you onto the podium here at Barcelona today?
That's a good thing because we have sometimes some bad luck and sometimes we're not in pace. But yeah, we have a lot of bad luck the last time, and that's good for the mind to be P1, P3, and get some good point for the quali.
Red Bull Ring in 1 week's time. Can we expect the same speed and the same confidence from you going into Austria next week?
I don't know. I think we're able to do it, but we need to see what we're able to do for the setup and those things. And if you're able to manage a P8 or if you have a pace to go back to the P1, but why not?
Congratulations on your win in the feature, Quentin. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
And we will get to talk with Dino Lombardi. Second time in 2 weeks we're talking to you, Dino, but unfortunately you're not on the top step of the podium this week, but still showing some great speed here at Barcelona. Does this keep that confidence that you had coming out of Hockenheim Ring up, even though it's not on first place, it is second place?
Hi. It was a fun and hard race because not easy to manage the tires in Barcelona. But all in all, I am satisfied. The drivers are all very fast, and the level is very high. Quentin was great during all the race and at a good pace. I couldn't overtake him, and my compliments to him and team R8G. And I'm very happy for the result and for the championship.
You mentioned that championship continuing to stay up close to the top in the point standings. First place last week in the feature, second place this week in the feature. Where's the confidence going into the Red Bull Ring? Can you keep up this streak of podium finishes?
Red Bull Ring is not my favorite track, but I will try to do my best in that circuit and continues with this result. I wish.
Thank you very much for joining us in the Bo's post-race show,
you.
Dino. Congratulations on your second place finish.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we will transition over to Julian Sonin, third place on the podium. Julian, it was a double podium for your team of R8G Esports, and we heard how happy Quentin was about that for the team. What say you on the third place finish? Obviously, think you wanted to be second place or first place, but two cars and a team on the podium, that has got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels really great, you know. Yeah, of course, I want to be P1, but P3 is really good. It's nice because I was a bit disappointed after last week. Where I started P3 in the feature, but had some incidents. So yeah, it feels really great to be in front there. We've been working super hard the last couple of months with the teams to get on pace. So yeah, it feels really good, and I'm really pleased to be there now. be on the pace and fighting for the top spots.
And going into Red Bull Ring next week, we're seeing a bit more speed out of the car from here in Barcelona. Is that confidence level up going into virtual Austria? Are you going to be just sort of trying to get a grip on what is happening on the course, because it is one of the newer courses on the iRacing service?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I hope we keep the same pace, because that's great. I like being in front. But yeah, we had some pretty good pace in the first qualifying phase, like before the contenders at Red Bull Ring. So yeah, I hope we can keep the momentum going and try to continue to score some double team podium.
Thank you for joining us in the Bose post-race show, Julian. Congratulations on your podium finish.
Thanks.
Gianni, top 3 finishers, all fast drivers, a double podium for RHG Esports. Has got to feel good for that team. We heard it from both of their drivers. They're immensely happy with their performance tonight.
It is about time that they got themselves an absolutely fantastic result here in this one. It's been a team that I've been watching to see develop over the course of the last year or so, and it's great to see them hitting some highs. But of course, we have our next event at the Red Bull Ring in exactly a week's time. We head to Spielberg, we head to Austria for round number 3 of the championship here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series, and we would very much love it if you're able to join us for that one. We are still on the hunt for 15 drivers to get themselves their slot booked in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. But for now, we will have to say goodbye. My name's been Connery Maddock. I've been joined by the ever wonderful Joshua Lee. This has been an iRacing production on the Porsche Esports social media, and we'll see you, well, in exactly a week's time. Bye-bye.